Finding Nemo in 3D. This movie was made in 2003, and about 10 years later was re-rendered in 3D. So I thought, like I did with Cars, I was interested if there was much difference between the original and the updated version. Let's take a look at that today. What I found was yes, but mostly no. And that almost every underwater shot of the original seemed to have an extra layer of bubbles somewhere on the screen that were either removed or had a focus adjustment for the 3D version. Ignoring those bubbles, more substantial changes were less common, but they were there. Though the vast majority of the film had one eye that was virtually identical to the original. But there are a few interesting moments here. Now, I've never seen Finding Nemo before. And it's a beautiful film that works well in 3D, despite being frequently dim. And, notice here how they changed the blur of that thing in the prominently in the upper corner and bring it more to life in this scene. Also here, there are some strands that they pull out and kind of put into a slightly different area. Here you see it a bit more dramatically. This was the shot I was thinking of. The 3D is played very safe, but not so much to ever feel like it didn't belong. Like most Pixar movies, I was left with the feeling that I would never want to watch it any other way than in 3D. I wonder what that bar was for. Was that like the two planes of the tank coming together and one was kind of sticking out? And here's another example of just extra bubbles being in the original that are removed for the 3D. I wonder, was that programming that they just couldn't find, or was it just programming that just didn't translate to, was it like a composite layer that they couldn't just re-render in 3D easily? I wonder. Here, I found the story to be pretty dark. It opens with a real kick to the gut. So much so, I actually watched the first part of this movie kind of mad. I was expecting a light, feel-good fest, and instead got served up a dish of trauma. It actually reminded me of the first episode of The Walking Dead. Bear with me a moment. Look here how the leaves, they were in the background, and they pulled it to the foreground for the 3D. Anyway, now I'm not a horror guy, but what I meant by The Walking Dead was that first episode ended on a horrible scene that kind of singes into your brain. And then I found myself following the show for some crazy reason for a few seasons. And, these scenes would come up once in a while, and I would wonder, why am I watching this? And I developed a theory that shock is sticky, that unless we take time to discharge unwelcome experience, we'll start to gravitate towards similar ones. And it makes me suspicious when I see something shocking in a kid's show. I wonder if it's there because they understand it's hooky. Curiously, the two main characters in this one are severely traumatized. One, it seems so much so, has lost the ability to retain memory. It's played for laughs, but you have to wonder that something really must have happened to make that so. And the father, whose sorrow turned to obsessive control. And that dynamic actually reminded me of a movie that came out a few years before Nemo called Shine, about the piano player's breakdown. And here, look at how they kind of pulled this window apart and stretched that ocean a little bit for the 3D version. And this is a moving shot, so they kind of made it a little bit more available in the 3D version. Very interesting. You have to. It's interesting to see them clean this up as they go through and make the 3D version. And here, it's they push them further in the water for the 3D version, I guess that makes them look a little bit more enveloped in the water better, whereas in the 2D version, they seemed more concerned with making sure they're seen. And here, the fishing rod, they take away one of the fishing rods on the boat for some reason. That, I have no idea what the idea was there. I don't see what that would have been interfering in. And look, in here, a plant, an entire plant disappears. Why? It's just a peculiar little detail, and I wonder what that was interfering with. And oh, and here, look, and the right, they correct the distance that the fish is that Nemo? No, is that the I think that's the father. Yeah. And yeah, they just correct the distance he's on there. And they do that a different time, too. Here, on the left, that box there, they make it better seated in the 3D version. I guess it was a little out of place for the originally. And now here, look up in the screen, and you'll notice one of those light fixtures was there, and then it disappears. And another, and that's a bit more obvious as to what that was interfering in. And yeah, another example where they just brighten it up. I guess the sea is a brutal place. One of the challenges of projecting human intellect on animals is the only true way to resolve their observed behavior with ours would be to make them psychopaths. And no one wants that movie. And this way, actually, that movie is kind of true. If a person were to become a fish, they would almost certainly live out their life in a traumatized, shell-shocked way. Nemo.